Recently, we spoke about the creation of the vampires, their enslavement under the Lord of Undeath Nagash, and their eventual freedom when Nagash was defeated against the living of Nehekara. I mentioned that each of the first vampires eventually went on to found their own bloodline, and today we're going to look at one of them. The Blood Dragons are perhaps the most active of the vampiric bloodlines throughout the Warhammer Fantasy universe. Ever since their formation at the hands of their sire, these fierce warriors have perhaps been seen more than all the other bloodlines combined, as they seek to end the bloodthirst which plagues their race, much like their master did many moons ago. Aborash was the founder of this bloodline, having been one of the true-born vampires in the kingdom of Lemire. He was one of Queen Neferata's protectors, who swore his life to keep her and her kingdom safe. He, unlike many of the ruling hierarchy of Lemire, was not selfish. Instead, he had great love for the people of the kingdom and strived to keep them safe. Neferata knew of this man, an excellent warrior, whose love for his queen could easily see him corrupted and transformed by her will. This was, as expected, an easy task, where the young warrior drank from the elixir of life after being thralled by his beautiful queen. He found himself changed, one of the firstborn with an insatiable thirst for blood. Aborash, however, tried to resist his urges, not wanting to hurt any innocents, and abstained from drinking blood for as long as he could. Sadly, however, those urges took control, and he slaughtered 12 innocents and fed on their bodies. When his blood-craved madness lifted, guilt and sorrow overtook him. These were the people he had sworn to defend, and by feeding upon them, he had betrayed them and forsaken his honor. It was here that he made an oath never to feed upon the innocent again, lighting 12 candles each day for those he had killed, and he would only feed on those whose hearts were dark, an oath he gladly kept. When Lemire was besieged and eventually fell, the sire of the would-be blood dragons did not in fact join his fellow vampiric brethren on their retreat to find Nagash, but rather he travelled alone in self-imposed exile to atone for his previous sins, which many believe it was his weakness towards the queen which saw his fall. Now lighting the candles, for in hatred of humanity and those who had wronged him, as now he knew his queen used him as a puppet. Aborash gained many disciples, but did not stay with them for long. In truth, those who studied under him had their own ambitions to be considered the greatest warriors in the known world, using their newfound immortality to be able to be considered this, as they had plenty of time to hone their skills. They heard tales of their sire finally quenching his thirst for blood forever, and they strived to do the same. Those who studied under Aborash went their own ways to prove their worth, but it was Wallach Harkon which saw the true birth of the bloodline. Having spent many years hidden in plain sight through various countries and kingdoms, his eyes fell upon the castle known as Blood Keep, which lay within the borders of the Empire and Bretonnia. Here resided a knightly order, known as the Order of the Blood Dragon. They were known as one of the strongest knightly orders within the Empire, staunch followers and devotees of Sigmar himself. But sadly for them, their days as normal mortal men would soon be numbered, as Wallach Harkon soon fell upon them. One by one, each of the knights would be challenged to single combat. Those who fought bravely would be spared, while the others would be slaughtered like dogs. Those who were spared were given the greatest blessing and curse that could have been imaginable, the Blood Kiss, where thereafter the Order of the Blood Dragons were simply known as Blood Dragons. For years these dark warriors sallied forth from the Blood Keep, wreaking havoc among any who would take their challenge. Eventually, this now damned knightly order saw itself expelled from the Blood Keep, after the Empire itself rose a mighty army to defeat these deathless monsters. But the vampires were not all killed, and many of them fled to other lands in order to continue to prove themselves the greatest warriors in the world. Many who have seen these former living knights and have been lucky enough to survive describe them as a parody of what they once were many years ago, wearing the symbols they once wore in life as a mockery of what they once were. Their abilities honed from many centuries of fighting. It is said that the Blood Dragons have no rival in mounted combat, and many even say that they are masters of all known weaponry in the Warhammer world. Many fear these warriors, knowing full well a challenge issued by the Blood Dragons would almost certainly be met with death. And with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our lore video. Before I do the outro as normal, I just want to state it is very important to note that the lore for this bloodline has actually changed quite dramatically. Originally these were known as a bloodline, and some people still consider it, but I believe GW's last official stance on the matter before the end times and the explosion of the world was that the Blood Dragons were more of a mix of various bloodlines, each of them trying to strive for greatness. I'm not 100% sure. But with that, I kind of worked it as both ways, seeing them as both as official canon, as I'm a fan of the series that way, and to be honest, I quite like the Bloodlines. Honestly, I played a lot of the Blood Dragons in 6th edition, so that's why I'm just keeping it that way for myself. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.